The whole video is black and white. I love black and white videos.
So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Aaliyah's last days and why she seemed and looked so down. Now, as you guys may know, it is a very sad day, a very sad date today. It is August 25th, and it's just gloomy outside too. How about that? But today is the day Aaliyah lost her life in the Bahamas. August 25th of 2001, and it's just very sad that the days that people pass away on have to keep coming back, reminding you of the sadness that took place. It's just really unfortunate. I just got done watching some videos. Well, I actually wasn't watching them. I was going to do a little montage of Aaliyah and her videos we were left by her, and I just kept ending up watching them instead of doing what I went on there to do, which is get some footage for this montage I was going to make for Aaliyah. But I decided to just get on camera and talk. I think it's better, and I'm not really good with montages, especially long ones. So I'm just going to get on here and talk about what went on. And this video is going to be a little different than what people usually post. They usually post remembering videos, and they remember the good times with Aaliyah and the good times she left for us and her generation of fans. I'm going to be talking about the things that a lot of people don't like to talk about and the things that people don't like to hear you talk about. So anyways, I'm not going to have the exact dates of when these things occurred. If you know, then fine. The first thing I want to get into is her last performance. Now, when I first seen her last performance, I was just like, she doesn't look like she usually does in her performances. She's usually bouncing around stage, dancing, grooving to the music, happy, smiling, interacting with the crowd and such. But during her last performance, she was kind of nonchalant during that performance. If you just watch the video, the performance, she looks very off. I mean, you don't get a smile from her throughout that whole performance. Maybe a smirk, if that, but she really wasn't herself, and you can definitely tell that. I can definitely tell that. I was barely a human back then, but there was definitely something going on. Maybe the business was getting tough for her. The people around her were getting tougher to work with, tougher to handle and talk to. But I am going to be adding the performances, some of the clips. I don't want to get copyrighted. I'm not trying to, but I'm gonna put some of the clips in here of her performance because I just get a bad vibe, and I feel like if people back then were really paying attention to her and was really down for her, I feel like they would have seen all the red flags leading up to her death. She didn't seem herself during that performance. Backstage, after that last performance, she didn't seem to want to be on camera. She was also doing a signing, and she literally wasn't herself. Like, the fans were trying to take pictures with her, and she wasn't interacting like she normally does when doing signings. And maybe she was just tired that day and it was just a lot on her. They were working that girl a lot, especially at the end. At the end, they kept throwing songs on her to record. She was always in the studio. they put together this last minute music video, which unfortunately led to her death. If she wouldn't have went there, I'm pretty sure she would be here today, unfortunately. Anyways, and the only people that she was really talking to during that time around her last performance was Kidada.
Sitting next to Aaliyah there, I think they were like best friends. It's like the daughter of Quincy Jones, you know? I think she used to date.
And her brother. And she wasn't really talking to the lady that was sitting next to her, the lady that works with her. And was always seen pictured with her. The lady whispered something to Aaliyah. And I think she mentioned something about the camera being on Aaliyah. And then Aaliyah looked at the camera and she looked annoyed and not in the mood. And she looked away like, you know, whatever. Aaliyah was just really off that day. And I definitely seen it. I feel it. And these are things I want to talk about because no one mentions these things. No one points it out. But it's just something they never dare to touch base on. Now, I'm going to add a few clips in right here of the performance so that you guys can see it for yourselves and see how down she was. I mean, she wasn't even keeping up with the dancers. Especially when it first started off, she was a little behind. She was on point a little bit, but you could tell she was just down. You know, you wake up and you don't want to do anything. You're just drained. You're tired. You barely want to walk. You barely want to drink and feed yourself. That's how it looks like she was acting. She didn't want to dance, barely, you know, but it's just something she had to do. And the other girls, compared to the other girls were doing a fantastic job. And I'm not saying Aaliyah wasn't. I'm just saying her energy wasn't there. The vibes weren't there. She looked very annoyed with something. And I always say that I feel like she was going to be cutting people off that was in her circle. She was moving on to bigger and better things. She no longer wanted to be signed to her uncle's record label. It was already said she was hiding her music from them. So I think it was a lot going on, but it's just something she couldn't talk about, or things would have happened, which it did anyways, because she was starting to open up in her music, especially her last album. And it's funny how after her last album, her third album, she passes away. It's like it was just too much information in that last video. But anyways, let's talk about the boat scene. Now, there is footage of her walking onto the boat to begin the filming on the boat. And don't mind that little beeping thing. That is our fire alarm. We finally have one of those apartments. But anyways, she was boarding the yacht to film the yacht scenes. And as she was walking, they were showing all the girls. All the girls just looked very tired and sleepy. And then they eventually showed Aaliyah. And Aaliyah did not look like she was in the mood. And I know they were waking her up early, but her demeanor was even off from the girls. And I'm pretty sure they got woke up early as well. I'm pretty sure everybody got woke up early. But everyone just looked like they were in a tired mood. Aaliyah looked like she was in an annoyed mood. Like she was over the whole process of filming that video and she just wanted to go home. I don't think she enjoyed her time in the Bahamas as much as we think she did. Now, I do think that she did spend the excess time treating it like a vacation when she had the time. But let's just go over what was said happened when she was down there. Now, I heard that they didn't have good showering. The water was cold or something like that. It barely heated up, and it was also said that they barely have food. They were treated poorly down there, and these are things that we don't hear about, and a lot of people don't know about those sayings. But it was said they weren't treated right. Aaliyah was not treated right, and it's just really sad. You would think they would make sure she had the best hotel, the best treatment, everything, but in her last days, they really treated her poorly. And I think that's what played a major role in her demeanor. She was just off. And I feel like a lot of people were just teaming up on her, and it stressed her out. I mean, she was arguing with her friends. I'm pretty sure she has some ups and downs with her uncle. She had no family to be there with her to support her through the tough times. Everyone was busy. No one made time for her, and the ones who could have went with her turned her down because they didn't want to be in the way of things. So she was really alone. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, she had Fatima there. Her and Fatima were friends. You know, she was cool with the dancers. But you're right. You could have friends that you're close to, but Aaliyah had family that she was really close to, like her immediate family. She was best friends with Kidada, who wasn't there. Aaliyah probably only looked at Fatima as a choreographer and a friend, but no one who could fill that void while away from family, you know? Aaliyah was really alone, man. It's just really sad. I wish I was born back then so I could just time travel to where she's at and just help her. Like, I be thinking about that. I wish I could just time travel back in time and save her and tell her not to believe in anybody. Yeah, she was walking on the boat anyways, and she did not look happy. She said good morning, and she's like, you know, like a smirk, like, it's too early for this. I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like doing this. And let me tell you, that's not the only time she frowned at the camera. There's a picture. It was like a boat in a distance or something. I don't know. And they were taking pictures from a distance of her and the girls on the boat and everybody on the boat. And there's this one picture that was taken of Aaliyah. She was standing on the boat. All the girls' backs were towards the camera, kind of. And Aaliyah was looking directly at the camera, and she was giving this smirk. She was like, I don't know, like a stink face. Like, she just was not in the mood. And I get it. She was in the sun. She was in the heat. It was hot. It was probably scorching. She was probably tired and needed some sleep. And that would explain why she took a nap on the yacht. But she frowned at the camera, and a lot of people tried to run and say that it was because of the sun being in her the sun being in her face. And no, when the sun is in your face, you're like, you know, you'll cover your face up with your hand or turn your back towards the sun. Something. When you see the sun, you're like, you know, you don't want the sun in your face. You don't be like, that looks like a face of annoyance. Aaliyah was annoyed in her last days, and it's sad that she had to go out like that. It's sad that she had to go out with all that heavy stuff on her shoulders. You know, all the arguments that didn't get to be resolved. She went down before anyone could apologize. She could probably apologize and work things out. She went to the grave with so much on her shoulders, and that's what people don't understand. A lot of people don't talk about it, and this is just things that I want to hear, I want to know, and I want other people to know. So I talk about it. Now, in this interview, or in this performance right here, she did look kind of down as well. She is performing the same song, which is More Than a Woman, which I think More Than a Woman is one of her subliminal songs. It has a lot of subliminal messages in it, and she didn't look like she was in the mood here either. She had a little more energy than her last performance. Let's just say that. But in this performance, she still looked a little down. Her facial expressions were very strict. She was barely moving. I don't know, her demeanor was off. You can tell, like, once you know body language, you learn it, you'll be able to... The heck? You'll be able to read anything, and it's just hard. I don't like watching her last performance at all because I know that she was going through something. You could see it in her posture, her dancing, her facial expression, her singing, even her voice. It was deep. You know how your voice gets deep when you're irritated and sad and you've had enough? Then, you know, she had the little MTV interview where they asked her what does she want her legacy to be. That was really weird. Like, you don't ask a 22-year-old that unless you know something is finna happen. And it's funny because MTV is really big. It's a very big platform. It's very successful. It has been for a very long time. And it's funny how she was on there when they asked her. They asked her, what does she see? What does she want her legacy to be? And she said it's hard to tell. I mean, she's young. She's still young.
Right now, it's hard to say what I want my legacy to be, you know, what I want people to say when I'm long gone.
But she said in a few years, she would have the answer. And to ask her in a couple years, in a few years.
You know, we'll talk a few years down the line and we'll see where my head is at then. But that's what I want for right now.
And then she said she wanted to be remembered as a full-on entertainer. And it's just funny how after she says all this and she was asked this question, she dies. Like, it just really breaks my heart and my soul. And I kind of understand why Aaliyah's parents aren't doing anything about it, trying to get justice, trying to dig into what really happened to their daughter, because it's bigger than we think it is, or than we know. I know it's big. Like, some people know, some people don't. 90% of people think it was an accident. Like, it wasn't an accident. I feel like if I would have been alive back then, I would have seen some red flags. I would have put two and two together. I probably would be doing what I'm doing now, and it probably would have saved her if she would have ever seen these videos. Also, in the end, I want to bring up that a lot of people were asking her rude and inappropriate questions in the end. Like, it started in 2000 up until 2001. I feel like it was disrespectful to me. You know, they would be asking her always about Beyonce. They would just question her a lot, like weird questions. I can't think of any right now, but there's plenty. I watch interviews with Aaliyah, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, why would he ask her that? That's kind of rude when you really think about it. And Aaliyah looks very uncomfortable answering some of the questions that were asked towards her. And I'm just like, things were off. There was so many red flags. People were questioning her, and they were putting her in a corner. And I think that it was just nowhere for her to run. She had no one to talk to. Everyone was infatuated with the business, including her family. Like, who could she sincerely talk to? Her best friend, Kidada, was a part of the industry. Her newfound best friend, Natine, was a part of the industry. Her boyfriend was a part of the industry. Aaliyah had no one to turn to. So what I think Aaliyah did was she cornered herself in a corner, and she let them kill her. She was satisfied with what she did in her 22 years. She experienced a lot more than anyone experienced still today. She already was married. She supposedly was pregnant. She had multiple relationships. She partied. She experimented. She was smoking marijuana. She drank wine. She went out clubbing. You know, she would stay nights at her friend's house. She dated. I think I said that already. She played in movies. That was one of her goals. She modeled. She did music, which was her number one dream. And, you know, she got to enough to where she was satisfied, and she was done running or done trying to convince whoever she needed to that she was the one and that she was ready for what they wanted from her. Aaliyah was done running. She couldn't talk to anyone. Everyone she knew was a part of the industry in some way. I'm pretty sure you can't trust anyone in the industry. They will rat you out or probably tell your business to the wrong person. I mean, just look at Damon Dash. She's trying to tell the world her business. But Aaliyah was definitely bothered in her last days. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the color she was wearing during her last performance, which was black. Now, I looked up the meaning of black, and I feel like when artists wear particular colors and they put particular things in their videos, it has meaning behind it. So, you know, Aaliyah was wearing white at some point, which means purity and innocence. And then her last performance, she wears black. Now, let's read some of the things that I found on the color black and the meaning behind it. Now, it was very hard to find some information, but I found some that could relate to Aaliyah. Anyways, I just found those who often wear black are subconsciously trying to protect themselves from feelings they think they can't control and may struggle to overcome anxiety and focus on their daily tasks. A person who wears black is perceived as bold, serious, confident, strong, and sometimes even superior. Rank, status, or quality. That's just what superior means. It could also mean that that person is characterized by tragic or disastrous events causing despair and pessimism. Pessimism just means a tendency to see the worst aspects of things or believe that the worst will happen, a lack of hope or confidence in the future, a belief that this world is as bad as it could be or that evil will ultimately prevail over good. And last but not least, it could also mean that they are full of gloom or misery, very depressed. Now, Aaliyah looked very depressed in her last days. It's the reason why she was wearing black that day as well. I mean, Aaliyah didn't do those things for nothing. I believe that Aaliyah used colors to her advantage to express her feelings and her emotions, her beliefs. And colors could also mean your beliefs and a bunch of other things. It all depends on the color. But she wore black for her last performance. That's weird. I think that she was definitely trying to say something with that color, and she got it across. You just have to look at the bigger picture and read in between the lines. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What an unfortunate day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Stay crazy. And rest in peace to Aaliyah. You are very missed.
Do you remember that one night when we fell in love? What we had felt so right, 'cause we had trust. Now we're drowning in our lives. I know we're broken up, you know the feelings deep inside. So what? You, what we've been through.